Hey everybody, welcome to video 9 of my Guitar Chords 101 video course. Getting close to the end here. And in this video I'd like to talk about the topic of diatonic chords. And diatonic chords are chords that are built only from notes of a specific scale. And just so we're clear, a scale is a sequence of notes ordered by pitch. Each note of a scale can also be referred to what's called a degree of a scale. For instance, the second note of the scale is the second degree of that scale. And each of those degrees can also be referred to by Roman numerals. Every degree of a scale has an associated chord quality based on the notes it uses that is diatonic to that particular scale. So listen to that again if that didn't make sense, because it's important. And it's important to have a good understanding of the chord qualities associated with every scale degree, especially the major and natural minor scales, because it's going to help you understand chord progressions so much better. And you'll learn why certain chords are played over certain degrees of a scale to form a chord progression that sounds good. You'll know why a minor 7 chord is the first chord played in a major 2-5-1 chord progression. And you'll know why a half diminished chord is the first chord played in a minor 2-5-1 progression. You'll know why dominant chords are played over the 5th degree and a major 7 chord is played over the 1st degree of the scale. It turns out that chords in a chord progression usually are not just picked at random, and they are usually diatonic to a certain scale of the key that the song is in. So let's talk about these scale degrees and how they're depicted in music theory. The Roman numerals are a popular way to write out chord progressions because they can be used to indicate scale degrees instead of actual chords. And this way it doesn't matter what key the tune is in, you can analyze it from the perspective of a chord qualities regardless of the actual notes that are used in the chords. So you can transpose the progression to any key that you want. So as far as these Roman numerals go, the major chords are going to be capital letters. The minor chords are lowercase letters. Dominant chords will be capital, but they'll have a 7th after them, usually a V, like a V7 sign. Augmented chords are going to be capital, but they'll have a plus sign after them. And the diminished and half diminished chords are lowercase with a circle or the circle with a line through it, depending on which one it is. So let's start with the major scale, and we can see what chords we can derive from the major scale. And as I have so far, I'm going to be sticking with the key of C major, just to avoid those sharps and flats. So here's a look at the C major scale. And using tertian harmony, or chords based on thirds, I'm going to formulate chords using only notes from the major scale. And as you may or may not already know, the intervals of the major scale, starting with the root note and moving up in steps, are whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So therefore, if we make chords based on thirds from the major scale, some of those thirds are going to be major and others will be minor. And this is going to give us various chord formulas, because when you vary the third, it makes the chord either major or minor or potentially dominant. So let's examine what type of chords we end up with from the C major scale. You'll notice here that the major scale has major chords on the 1st and 4th degrees. The 2nd, 3rd, and 6th degrees are minor, and then the 5th degree is a dominant, and the 7th degree is half diminished. And these are the chords that are formed when we stack thirds from the major scale on top of each other. Now let's look at the natural minor scale. The relative minor of C major is A minor, so we're just going to stick with that. So now we'll work with the key of A minor. And the chords are going to be exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the degrees of the scale. And the first degree of a natural minor scale is going to be the sixth degree of its relative major. So for A minor, the relative major is C. And the diatonic chord of the sixth degree of C major is A minor 7. So we start the natural minor scale out with the minor 7 chord, and since the 7th degree of the major scale is half diminished, the 2nd degree of the natural minor scale is also half diminished, and the rest of the chords are the same as well. You may notice that the 5th degree of the natural minor scale is a minor 7 chord, and you may also notice that when we play a minor 2-5-1 progression in many jazz tunes, a dominant chord is played over the 5, not a minor 7 chord. That's because that chord is diatonic to the harmonic minor scale, not the natural minor scale. And if you look at the diatonic chord qualities for the harmonic minor scale, you'll notice that the 5th degree chord is dominant. And this is normal in jazz, so don't freak out if you see dominant chords in a minor 2-5-1 progression. Okay, so that sums up all I want to discuss about diatonic chords, and it kind of brings a wrap to a lot of the material that I've been covering here. In the next video, I'm going to finish up by giving you some tips and advice that I've learned in my years of studying and playing the guitar, and hopefully you can use some of those tips to help you understand what we've talked about and help apply it to your playing. So I look forward to talking to you then.